In this video, we are going to do another round trip and have a closer look at the photography workflow combining Photoshop and Lightroom. Adobe Photoshop Lightroom is the actual name, and this application is also part of the Creative Cloud subscription. Previously, it used to be a standalone software, and it perfectly complements Photoshop with its cataloging system. Now, when you first look at Lightroom, it looks very similar to Adobe Bridge, which we already talked about in this course. But Lightroom is actually not a file manager like Adobe Bridge because it cannot operate on files unless they are imported into its database first. So you see a big button here on the left, Import, and that is exactly where you have to import all the photographs into the catalog. Now, in this current catalog, for example, I have around 2,000 photographs, and they are all on my computer, but I imported all those into this catalog. The biggest advantage of using Lightroom is that you can process very quickly a whole set of images that you took on a trip or on a photo shoot, and then picking your favorites, you can mark those and even take them for further edits into Photoshop. The heart of Lightroom is really the library panel and the develop module, which will also be familiar to you from the Adobe Camera Raw video. You will find almost exactly the same options here on the right and the same tools as well. So in a sense, Lightroom inherited a lot from Bridge and Adobe Camera Raw, but there's so much more here than just the combination of these two applications. I'm only going to give you a teaser again about Lightroom, so if you are interested of this application, it deserves a whole separate course, which I'm planning to record. But for now, I would like to show you an integrated workflow between Lightroom and Photoshop. So we have a few images here, but what I'm mainly interested in is this set of 5 images. If I select the first one, I can show you that it's a panorama that we need to stitch together. So I'm going to select these 5 images, first of all, and then right-click on any of them and choose Photo Merge Panorama. That will open up this Panorama Merge Preview dialog box, which, by the way, again, is only available in CC or the Creative Cloud version of this application. And here's a really cool technique, the auto crop. If I turn that off, you can see we have some gaps around the edges, but those gaps can be filled up if I use the boundary wrap. So instead of auto crop, the boundary wrap will be able to fill in all those gaps automatically. And then we can click on Merge. And there's our panorama, which is part of our catalog. But now, before we do anything else, we can also make some adjustments still here in Lightroom. So I'm going to switch to Develop, and I'm going to add a little bit of changes here on the tonal values. So I will probably reduce highlights and also exposure because I feel like it's a little bit too bright. Then we can increase shadows slightly. Might be a little bit too dark now, something like that. Now we can also increase vibrance to have a little bit more color intensity and clarity. Plus we can go to the effects option and we can increase the dehaze value as well. Now maybe we can also increase exposure and highlights just a tad bit up. So we can check before and after by pressing Y on the keyboard and Tab to have a little bit bigger view of them. So on the left we have before, on the right we have after. And this I love in Lightroom. You can even split this view by changing to before, after, left, right split, where you can zoom in and drag the view left and right to compare how it looked before. So there you can see exactly what happened. And I zoomed close and I can even show it to you here that this is a detail I would like to remove. So the wires in the background. But to be able to do that, it's best to go to Photoshop. So for that, I am going to switch back to normal view, right click on this image and choose Edit in Photoshop. Once I click on that, the panorama will open up straight in Photoshop where we can create an additional new layer for our retouching. So I'm just going to rename this Retouch and zoom closer, where we can then start using the Spot Healing brush tool, double checking that Sample All Layers is turned on, and then we can just paint over the details that we want to remove. So that area we removed, and also a couple of additional details there. Then we can continue paint over all these parts until we completely remove all the wires in the background. I can remove that detail as well. And I'm quite happy with the rest. We could also focus here on the front on the other details, but I think I'm just going to retouch a couple of additional parts here in the background, and then I think we are ready to go. Maybe also these parts can be just filled up with some green details. And then also most visible parts here, I just paint over, another one there, quickly removed, and another big one here in the foreground. And I think that will be enough. So when I zoom back, we can check now before and after. If I turn off the layer, that was before, this is after. So just a subtle change. But I am going to also crop the image because this bottom detail is not necessary. I want to focus on the top area. And at this point, if I feel like I would like to combine some other photographs into this scene, I can use, for example, my libraries panel, where I prepared an image, which we used also in previous examples. So I can just drag and drop that here in this scene, and it will become a smart object. So we can increase its size and decide exactly where we want this to be. We can have it probably somewhere around here in the middle. So now that we've done everything we wanted, we can go to File and save these changes. And once Photoshop is done saving the file, we can switch back to Lightroom. And within Lightroom, we will already see the edited version, which came back and it has been added to our catalog. I could continue making more edits here in Lightroom, or I could switch back to Library and export this for any type of different media. But what my favorite feature is in Lightroom is the collections, which can even be synchronized with your mobile devices. So there's a collection called Best of Via Ferrata. I'm going to drag this new composition onto that collection, and that collection is actually synced already with my Lightroom mobile application. Here on the top you can see it's syncing one photo, and by clicking on my name I can always turn off syncing if I want. But to show you what that means, I'm going to switch to my iPad now and select Lightroom application. So once I click on that, it will come up and it's already synced in the meantime, that image that we just created. So that whole collection called Best of Via Ferrata is available on my iPad, where we can see all the other images that I favorited from this collection. But that's the one that we just created. And believe it or not, I could even continue adjusting and editing this on my iPad or even on an iPhone or Android device. So if I feel like I want to see how it looks in black and white, I can just select that and there's the conversion already there. I can turn back the colors and I can select temperature. We can reduce it, increase it, and so on and so forth. Now the changes what you do on your mobile device will be synced back to your Lightroom catalog on your desktop computer the next time your mobile device is connected to the internet. So you can do your edits even while you are offline and be able to continue and refine them once you get home and work on your desktop computer with the actual catalog. So just to show you how it works, I'm going to turn this back to black and white because that's quite a drastic change and we will notice it. And I'm going to also increase the contrast in the image just to make it really like strong black and white version. So I am going to go back and we can see already the way it looks here. I can go all the way back to all my images. And then if we switch back to Lightroom, it just takes a bit of time, but it updated and it now shows the changed version that I did on my iPad. And by doing this effect, I actually noticed that we have a lot of spots on the image because of the dust on the sensor. But that again can be removed either here or on Lightroom Mobile. So this was just again another round trip of the connection between Lightroom, Lightroom Mobile, and Photoshop. So thanks to the Creative Cloud, everything is all connected and the whole photography workflow is completely seamless. If you are into photography, I'll highly recommend to check out Lightroom and also to give the Lightroom mobile version a try. In our next video, we will return back to Photoshop and see how it can be used in a web and mobile design workflow.